stages of term 3 in choosing your subjects for your senior course. Alright, so, and at the end of this term, you're actually going to choose subjects for term 4 this year. And remember, term 4 subjects are ideally the subjects that you're going to flow into year 11 and 12 with. So today I'm just going to reinforce what we've already talked about. That is, what is general subjects, what are applied subjects, what is an ATAR. And we're also going to look at some specific things that you need to start thinking about with regard to the subject selection. So, remember, the new qualification that you're going to get is no different to the one that the current students get, and that's a Queensland Certificate of Education. Right? You still require 20 points to get a QCE. You still require a literacy component, meaning you've passed English, any English. You still require a maths component, meaning that you've passed any of your maths. And you still have to study 3 subjects at least for the entire 2 years. But there are some really big differences with what you're actually going to need to get into a tertiary institution. That is that you will now need an ATAR. That's a tertiary, Australian Tertiary's admission rate. Right, so the best ATAR that you can get is 99.95, and it goes all the way down to 0. If any of you, and no one in this room is going to apply to this, but if anyone gets an ATAR that's less than 30, your certificate will simply say that you got an ATAR of less than 30. They won't actually say what number it was, just that it was smaller than 30. Alright, 99.95 being the absolute best that you can get. That would be the ones that you need to get into the really academic courses at university. So if you want to be a doctor, a dentist, a vet, a physiotherapist, you would need a 99.95. Right? If you wanted to go and study law or some of the other more academically rigorous ones, you would still need something in the high 90s. We don't know yet, and no one in Queensland knows, what those numbers are actually going to be. In other words, what the ATAR number is, or rank is, that you will need to get into specific courses. Right? But what we do know is that certain subjects will count towards ATAR, certain subjects won't. We'll also know that there's going to be a pattern of study that you need to do while you're here at school, and we know that universities are going to set prerequisites. That means they're going to say that you need to have studied general English and passed it for 4 semesters. You may, for some courses, needed to have studied a particular science or a particular maths. Right? And that's up to the tertiary institutions to make those decisions. So, very soon you're going to choose 6 subjects. And we're not going to talk about it as much anymore as year 11 and 12 because it's not 2 separate years. It's 1 senior. Right? So in senior you will do 4 units. 2 of those units will be in what we call year 11 and 2 will be in year 12. Right? So, but those 4 units that you do is what your senior course of study is comprised of. Those subjects that you choose will either be applied subjects or general subjects. And guys, I can't stress how serious it is that you really understand the difference between the 2 and you start using the language. So if you're going to do a subject that's more practical, for example, construction or furnishings, that's what we call an applied subject. If you want to do something that's more academic, so if you wanted to do biology, chemistry, they're what we call general subjects. Right? We'll have a look at the big difference when it comes to how they contribute to your ATAR. So if you want an ATAR, and remember an ATAR is only a rank that is useful to you if you want to go straight from school into university. Many of you sitting in this room don't need an ATAR after you finish senior. Right? If you wanted to go into the workforce or to a trade or to anything else other than straight into university, you don't need an ATAR. That's the only thing an ATAR is good for, is to getting you into a tertiary institution. After that, apart from that, it's got no other purpose. So the rules about ATAR, they say that you can do, if you want an ATAR, you need to do a minimum of 5 general subjects and 1 applied subject. We've made some changes to that at our school because we want students to have the best possible outcome. We know, because every other state in Australia uses an ATAR, that for you to get an ATAR that is actually worthwhile, and that means it will get you into a course at university, you need to do 5 general subjects, preferably 6 general subjects, and something like a certificate 3 or higher, so a certificate 3, 4 or diploma. Your ATAR is only going to use your 5 best subjects. So when QTAC calculates your ATAR, and they work out whether you're going to get 99.95 or 77.0, they will only use your 5 best subjects that you've done. Right? 2 things that are going to affect your ATAR are the number of general subjects that you do and how well you do in them. So, those of you sitting here thinking, well, what does that mean? How do I know what general subjects to do to get a really good ATAR? Do the ones you like. Because if you like them and you've had some success in them this year or in year 9, chances are you're going to do better in them. Right? The better you do in those subjects, the better your ATAR is going to be. So when you're coming to choose your subjects, please don't think about them in terms of, oh, this subject's harder than another subject, so I'm going to get a better ATAR. Or the teacher of that subject I really don't like, so I'm not going to do that subject. Think about it in terms of what subjects do I enjoy going to? What subjects am I going to enjoy putting in all that extra time at home, homework and assignments and study? And what subjects have I already done that I've got some pretty good results in? Because if you can say, I like the subject, I'm happy to do extra work in it, and I know I'm good at it because I've got some good results, then chances are it's going to score quite well towards your ATAR. So, 5 general subjects, or 4 and 1 of those, right, are what will contribute to your ATAR. As I said, we've made some slight tweaking to that because we want the best outcome for you guys. Okay. Something that is a non-negotiable is regardless of what you want to do, you need to study English or Essential English. So there's General English and Essential English. General English is what we would call now Authority English or OP English. Essential English is what we would call now English Communication. University prerequisites currently say that for you to meet the prerequisites for most courses at university, you have to have studied and passed Authority English. We don't think that we're reasonably certain that that's not going to change, meaning that you will have to have studied General English if you want to go into university. For that reason, we're saying that if you want an ATAR at Pacific Pine State High School, you must study General English. Right? It's useless being on track for an ATAR and doing Essential English if you're not going to meet the prerequisites of the tertiary institution. Having said that though, English may not contribute towards your ATAR if it's not one of your best 5 subjects, but you still must have studied it. Okay, so let's have a little bit of a look at this again. First person, the girl sitting on the books, she's eligible for ATAR because she's doing 5 general subjects. Little gentle person here, also eligible for an ATAR, doing 4 general subjects and a Cert 3. This person down here, this person, is doing, they're eligible for an ATAR, they're doing 4 general subjects and an applied subject, Essential English. That person though, while they'll get an ATAR, it's useless. It's not going to get them in anywhere because they haven't done General English. Right? So it's really important that you keep looking at not only just the number, the rank, ATAR cutoff when you're thinking about tertiary, but also what does that university want you to have studied and passed at school. And you need to make sure that you've studied those subjects during year 11 and 12 in senior. They're the ones you're going to have to pick at the end of this year. Okay, so we've already said you've got to have completed an English subject, you must have completed 5 general subjects, and you've accumulated your 5 best subject results within a 5-year period. Now they say within a 5-year period because in very rare situations, students may do 1 subject per year over a period of 5 years. And that might be students who have got like a chronic illness, who are elite athletes, or have something else going on that prevents them from doing school like we're all going to do school. We don't need to know that. So, your subject results are scaled. And that's because if you think about it, We know that there are 3 different types of general maths, and I'm going to talk about them in the old language. So Maths A, Maths B and Maths C. So, we know that Maths B is harder than Maths A, yes? Would we all agree? Yeah, okay. So is it easier then for me to get a really good mark in Maths A than it is in Maths B? Yes. So is it then fair that if I score 90 out of 100 in Maths A, that it contributes to my ATAR exactly the same way as if I scored 90 out of 100 in Maths B? No, it's not fair. So that's why the QTAC have decided that they're going to scale our subject results. So those results will be scaled on how well students in those subjects do. So we don't know what the scaling is going to be yet. No one in Queensland does because no one's done those subjects yet. But after 2020, when you guys have all finished Year 12, QTAC will have an idea about how well students are doing in subjects and they'll be able to apply the scaling factor to them. You don't have to worry about it, it's something that QTAC does, but just letting you know that subjects are scaled. Okay, so this year, hugely important for you guys. The subjects that you're doing now, so you're doing electives for Unit 1, 2 and 3, so terms 1, 2 and 3. The decisions that you make in term 3 are going to be about the subjects that you're going to do in term 4 this year. The 6 subjects you do in term 4 this year are hopefully going to be the subjects that you continue on doing into senior. Now, let's say in term 4 you do a subject and you don't do well in it. Can you change before year 11? Absolutely. In fact, we would really encourage you to do that. And for that reason, you guys finish school at the end of week 8 in term 4. So you may, your parents may be asked to come in for an interview if we're reviewing your results in weeks 9 and 10 of term 4. Let's say you get your report card and we see that you've not had success in chemistry, and yet it's a subject that you would like to carry on into senior. We would come in and we would talk to you about why you probably shouldn't do chemistry in senior. Because your results that you get in term 4 are going to be an excellent indication of how you're going to go in year 11 and 12. Right, so the term 4 subjects that you choose will be very, very similar to the subject in year 11 and 12. So let's think about chemistry. Chemistry in term 4 is going to be very similar to what it will be in year 11 and year 12. So if you're not coping in term 4, that's an indication it's not a subject you might want to do in senior. Right, so while you're going to choose subjects for term 4 that hopefully will be what you continue on into senior, there may be some of you that have to review those subjects and make some changes that suit you better and suit your pathways better. You're going to choose once at the end of term 4, that's for the whole 2 years then, for your senior course, year 11 and 12. You're locked into those subjects. We don't want students having to change subjects. Reason for that is because the new subjects are written where things that you cover in Unit 1, Year 11, they come back to in Unit 2 and they increase in difficulty, and they come back to them in Unit 3 and Unit 4. So if you've missed out on Units 1 and 2 in Year 11, you're really putting yourself at a deficit for doing well in senior in Year 12. Right, because the subject, they're spiral syllabuses. In other words, they always come back to what you've done before and touch on that information, what you can go and do. So, general subjects, they're the more difficult ones. They're the ones that use higher order thinking skills. They ask you to analyse, to evaluate, compare and contrast, draw conclusions, make justified recommendations, all of those sorts of things. The word limits on the assessment tasks for your general subjects is considerably longer than what it is for your applied subjects. There is not a lot of practical work. There is some, but not a lot of practical work in your applied subjects.